Well, first to the UK, where Sam Kerr has faced an intense day of cross-examination in a London court and was also seen wiping away a tear during her racial harassment trial. The Australian women's soccer captain has been accused of racially harassing a police officer after a night out drinking in 2023. The Matilda striker has pleaded not guilty.
Kerr has denied using a police officer's so-called whiteness as an insult, but has admitted to wanting to upset him by calling him stupid. Michelle Rimmer has been in court all day and joins us now live from London. Michelle, can you explain, how did the day unfold?
Well, it was an emotional day in court here in the UK. As Sam Kerr's fiancée, Kristen Mewis, she took to the witness box. Now, she is pregnant and she spoke about Sam Kerr's character and how she is a very humble woman, and said that there's no one else that she would rather have be the mother of her child. Now, Sam Kerr could be seen wiping away a tear from the dock where she was watching on as Ms Mewis gave evidence. Ms Mewis also broke down in tears as she was describing feeling as though her life was on the line and her life was in danger when she decided to kick out the window of a taxi on the 30th of January 2023, when she and Ms Kerr believed that the pair were being taken hostage by that taxi driver. Now, earlier in the day, Sam Kerr, she faced cross-examination by the prosecution, where they really tried to hone in on the comments that Ms Kerr made to a British police officer, calling him stupid and white, and going into the intent behind that. Now, the prosecution barrister asked Kerr whether she was turning his whiteness into an insult and that she was saying that he was stupid because he was white. Sam Kerr denied this. However, when she was pressed further by that barrister and asked whether at that moment of expressing her hostility towards the officer because she thought because of his stupidity, whether she also chose to demonstrate her hostility towards him because of his whiteness, she said that wasn't her intention, but then she did acknowledge that that is what she did. Sam Kerr had previously told the court, and she repeated again today, that she'd used that term white and stupid as an expression, however poorly chosen, of her belief that he was in a position of power and had privilege. That's something the prosecution also interrogated further. They played for the court a selection of clips of Ms Kerr during her interaction with the police officer, discussing her lawyers at her disposal and mentioning her football club Chelsea. And the prosecution was interrogating, who was in the position of power here. Was it the police officer or was it Ms Kerr? Now, I think we've got a short selection of those clips that we can play for you now.
Yes, file a police report. I've got Chelsea going on it. I will have the best lawyers. Don't worry. Don't worry. If these two white men, no, because I've got all the people in the world. Okay, and what's your name?
Now, this is just a very short snippet of what was a long interaction between the police officer and Kerr. We've been given 30 minutes of footage from the Crown Prosecution Service, which was played for the court. And so in that, Kerr says that she was also being antagonised by the police officer. He can be heard calling her Missy. She said she was upset and angry. So there's a lot of context around the statements that were being made. However, the prosecution was really trying to hone in on today the words white and stupid and why they were used.
And claims made by Kerr and her partner that the star footballer was treated differently by police because of the colour of her skin, that was also put under scrutiny by the prosecution today.
Yeah, so both Kerr and Ms Mewis, during their evidence, spoke about this idea that they believed that Kerr was being treated differently by the police officers than what Ms Mewis was, and they put this down to potentially the colour of her skin. Now, Kerr identifies as being of white Anglo-Indian heritage, and she said that this is something that she's experienced her whole life. Yesterday, when she was speaking to the court, she spoke about how teachers had treated her differently because of her skin colour, and that she believed she was often blamed for things that others were doing, and that she felt that in this moment this was the case. Now, the prosecution put it to Ms Mewis that potentially it was the difference in behaviour that was exhibited by Ms Kerr and Ms Mewis in the interaction with police. Kerr was heard to be swearing at them and interrupting with them, and that maybe this was the reason why they were being treated differently, not because of the colour of her skin. However, Ms Mewis denied that this was the case. Now, she'll return to the witness box tomorrow for further further questioning before we're expecting to hear some character references about Kerr, as well as closing arguments, and then the jury will be asked to make its verdict. So this case may continue not just for another day, but for more days to come, just depending on what unfolds.
Okay, Michelle, thanks for the update.
Let's head to the US now. And Donald Trump has doubled down on the idea of the US gaining control of Gaza. A proposal earlier this week was met with widespread condemnation. Our North America correspondent, Cayman Gock, joins us from DC. Cayman, good morning again. What's the latest this morning?
Well, James, these are the first comments that Donald Trump has put out since that extraordinary press conference side by side, the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, only a couple of days ago. He's posted on Truth Social, and I'll read out some of this post where he says the Gaza Strip would be turned over to the US by Israel at the conclusion of fighting, and that Palestinians would have already been resettled in far safer and more beautiful communities. The US would work with teams all over the world to begin the construction, and also claims that no US soldiers would be needed. Now, ever since he's mentioned this idea, it's been scant on details and has raised far more questions than answers. In this post, he didn't go into the legality of such an arrangement where the US would take control of the Gaza Strip, and his comments have been widely rejected, both from Arab countries, the United Nations, and many human rights advocacy groups. The Israeli Prime Minister, who is in Washington, D.C., however, has praised Trump's comments and says it's a remarkable idea worth listening to. Trump's suggestion goes against decades of US foreign policy calling for a two-state solution. We heard from Prime Minister Anthony Albanese the other day, who batted away many questions but reaffirmed that Australia's position has not changed, and that means that Australia is also in favour of a two-state solution. But there appears to be a lack of clarity within Trump's own ranks. Senior officials in his administration appear to have walked back on the level of involvement the United States would have. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt stated that no US money would be used yesterday. Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, also suggested that this would only be the temporary relocation of Palestinians. Pressed for more information today, he didn't give any details, but merely stated that President Trump is offering to be part of the solution. So it's still very unclear the details of this idea, and raises questions around the moral, the legal and the practical implications if this proposal were to go ahead. James?
All right, Cayman, thank you. Well, let's get some more news now. And a computer scientist who studied in Australia has emerged as one of the key figures behind the Chinese AI app DeepSeek. The emergence of the chatbot caused a Wall Street frenzy when it was released last month, and has been since banned from Australian government devices on national security grounds. One of the main engineers behind it, Zhijing Pan, studied at Adelaide University before receiving a scholarship at Monash University.
A gunman remains on the run following a shooting involving a homemade firearm on the Gold Coast. Police set up an exclusion zone in the Tallebudgera Valley as they search for a suspect. That declaration has since been lifted, but residents are asked to remain vigilant and report any suspicious activity.
Flood-weary residents across North Queensland are being warned to remain vigilant, with more heavy rain forecast today and into the weekend. Relief efforts have been given a boost with the construction of a temporary crossing at Ollera Creek, and disaster relief payments for Hinchinbrook, Cardwell and Giru, which opened yesterday afternoon.
A state of emergency has been declared as undersea earthquakes continue to shake the Greek island of Santorini. Excuse me, at least 11,000 people have fled the tourist hotspot in the past week. The declaration comes after a magnitude 5.2 tremor late on Wednesday, the most powerful of the more than 6,000 recorded in the past fortnight.
An independent state MP in Western Australia has legally changed his name to Austin Letts Trump, also known as Aussie Trump. Political observers say the politician, formerly known as Ben Dawkins, seems to be trying to leverage the success of Donald Trump in the United States to win some votes at the upcoming WA election.
Scientists say they've cracked the code for boiling the perfect egg, and it only takes 32 minutes. Researchers in Italy cooked hundreds of eggs to arrive at the recipe. So it involves transferring the eggs every 2 minutes between 2 pots of water, one boiling, the other one lukewarm at 30 degrees.
There you go. And the main ceremony for Australia's Film and TV Awards, the AACTAs, get underway at the Gold Coast tonight. Hosted by Russell Crowe, the event is going to feature performances by Robbie Williams and Paul Kelly. Williams' biopic Better Man has a record-breaking 16 nominations, already winning 5 of them at the industry event earlier this week.
Okay, let's take a quick look at global markets. The Dow is down almost by 0.5%. Our futures are pointing down as well. The Australian dollar, after reaching some more lows this week, it's now trading at 62.8 US cents. Brent crude and gold are also down.